Hi, welcome to the Divine Insight Show. Thank you so much for joining us wherever and whenever you're doing so. It's no accident that you're here. I am so excited for this week's show. I have an incredible guest sitting right here with me today, Markus Barrington, and I'm really excited to talk to him about his work and particularly his work around tarot and astrology. I've had a lot of astrologers on the show. I don't think I've had a tarot reader yet. So we've got, among other of his guests, we'll talk about that too. So I want to welcome Markus to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm very excited.
I'm so excited that we recently met, and I got the opportunity to see you work your magic with someone, and right after that I was like, okay, well, it's time.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot because all kept kind of piling into the room as I was doing that. Because when we first started, it was just like 3 or 4 of us in the room.
Yeah.
But I didn't even see any of you guys because I get so locked into what I'm doing. Oftentimes I don't even look at the person that I'm reading.
Yeah.
I'm just with the cards, and everything else sort of falls away to the background.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm excited to talk to you about what you do. And so let's talk about what you do. I know that you talk about being a medium and an empath, as well as tarot kind of being another tool and a divination tool that we'll talk about. But why don't you just share a little bit about how you got started in doing intuitive work in the beginning?
I mean, I was born with what I like to call it just flipped on, right? Mm-hmm. So as a child, I was empathic and a medium, and so was my sister. So I come from a long line of it. And so as a child, it was difficult because I was always taking in the emotions of everybody else around me. And back then, my mother, who I lovingly referred to at the time of sort of an out of control empath, right? So I was dealing with my own child emotions, my sister's child emotions, my mother's just sort of chaotic emotions. And then we also, my sister and I were constantly visited or harassed by spirits. So in the beginning, I had no idea what was happening to me or how to control it or what to do with it. And then as I got older, like into my 20s, it continued to be a problem, because we draw in emotional people naturally, people who are intuitive and who have healing gifts and stuff like that, because they see us and they understand our souls the way that they understand theirs. And so even in my 20s, I was drawing in like partners or friends that had a lot of chaotic emotions, which were just
it's like an emotional overload.
Yeah, I got constantly, right? Like I would even like impact and pick up my animals' emotions, right? And I had wine writers who were very emotional. So it wasn't until I met Carrie, who trained me on tarot, to the tarot master, that I was able to finally start to like get that under control. Tarot really became sort of like the portal for me, the door where I could really focus my energy. Like I said to you a moment ago, oftentimes I don't even look at the person that I'm reading. I'm so focused on the anchor that tarot is, right? And then that allows me in my readings to pull in the stuff I know about astrology. It allows me to pull in spirits that are coming to visit for the person that I'm reading. And it allows me, it just, I don't know, it becomes this like perfect balance within my reading. So my readings are often not just a tarot reading. They're spirit readings, they're astrology readings, their tarot readings, is sort of everything all mixed into one. So once I really started doing that in like my mid to late 20s, that's when I really was able to start to focus, first of all, then heal myself, right? Which is always the constant evolution anyways, but to finally get myself to a place where I was like able to help other people, able to use these gifts to help other people. And then, so heal thyself and then help to heal others. So tarot is really what kind of opened the door for me to do all that.
Yeah, that's great. And the really cool thing about tarot is a lot of people will come in, like I work in a wellness center that does tarot and among other things. And the thing about tarot is it's something that's tangible. People can look at the card. Yes. You can't necessarily question the fact that this is the card that is drawn. And as you know, and I believe as well, there's always, it's a perfect divination tool because you just, with your intention or a question, or as you're doing your incredible readings with dozens of cards I've seen, it all is perfect for the moment and the person that you're working with.
Well, as somebody who is intuitive and does readings on that level, that sometimes if you're working with somebody who, we all have the gifts. Everybody has the gifts. It's just, for some people, they're so disconnected, they just can't access them. So when you have somebody who doesn't have access to that stuff and you're trying to express and describe what you're seeing or what you're feeling or what the messages that you're getting for them, it's a lot of extra work for you to really explain that and to illustrate it.
Right.
The nice thing with the tarot cards is that there's actual images. They can look at it and I can say, this is what that means. And I'm like, oh yeah, I see that. Or sometimes before I even tell them what the card means, they'll look at it and they'll see the message essentially, because some of them are very obvious as to what they are. And they're like, oh, it's totally how I feel. So it helps them. I guess in a way it's less work for me because they can see these cards and tarot cards have vibrations. Each card has its own vibration that you can pick up. Even if you don't know how to read it, you can touch a card and still kind of get the essence of its being. So it just helps give people that like visual, tangible thing that they can look at, that they can touch, that they can really interact with.
And you've added sort of your understanding and learning with astrology.
Yes.
Layered onto that just in the past couple of years, has it been?
Yeah, in the past like 3 years or so, which I don't understand why more either astrologers don't use tarot or tarot readers don't use astrology, because the two go hand in hand essentially. They're very, it's like, well, why is this happening to me right now? Well, because of all the stuff that's going on in the heavens, right? That's why. That's the energy that's coming down on us right now. And then the tarot cards show how that's affecting your life, essentially, right? Like, so I've never understood why people don't, like those astrologers or tarot cards readers don't do that more. It's funny, like if I go ahead and pull, like before this Mercury retrograde happened, which is ending today, I went and pulled the chart to see what was going to be going on, what the other aspects were going to be that were going to go on during that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be so busy with readings because there were so many energetic things happening during this Mercury retrograde. Anytime Mercury goes retrograde in Scorpio, that's a big one all on its own, right? But then there was Mars-Pluto squares. There were all kinds of things going on. So I can always look ahead at the astrology charts and know when I'm going to be busy. And I can look ahead and literally know when I'm going to have almost no appointments because the energy, it's nice. I can literally use astrology to know when to book a vacation.
That's awesome. So here we are, mid-November, just finishing up this retrograde. And as you were explaining to me before the show, what's really interesting about the retrograde is that when it goes into the retrograde and ends, as you described it, the Mercury just sort of sits there for a moment.
Yes, before literally started doing today. Yeah.
So it's starting to do that today. And for those of you watching, we're just a few days ahead of when this will go live. But so can you talk a little bit about what's going on astrologically right now? Sure. Because this was a huge retrograde for all of humanity. And for me as a Scorpio, having this occur in my life, I was like, oh my God, I just needed to like become the hibernating bear, in my home, just so that I could keep myself, safe. But what's going on?
So the reason this one was particularly interesting is Mercury is the ruler of communication, okay? So when he spins backward, the first thing he does is he's going to just make communication a little bit harder or just no more boundaries with communication, right? So Mercury retrograde can definitely be the time where you see yourself standing up to people more, but like in a way that you never really would, or you're mouthing off more, or you have less boundaries with the way you communicate, where you're just like, sending fiery text messages and fiery emails. But what made this particularly interesting is that it was retrograding in Scorpio. Scorpio is the most secretive sign of the zodiac, okay? So whenever Mercury goes retrograde, period, no matter what sign, Mr. Scorpio, whenever Mercury goes retrograde, regardless of what sign he is, he brings the secrets out, okay? So that's when like the boundaries of communication are released and no secret is safe. But now he retrograded in the most secretive sign of the zodiac. So he's exposing Scorpio, the darkest. Yes. Darkest. So that's why you've seen things like I was telling you earlier before we started recording. I lost count of how many people have broken up. Weddings have been called off. I've lost count of how many people have lost their jobs. Those are the types of deep secrets that come out, like corporate-wide layoffs are exposed at that time. Affairs are exposed at that time. But it's not always bad. I don't want to make it sound like drama, because sometimes that's when you learn someone's in love with you, right? Like it's positive stuff too. It's just that this particular one brought out a lot of really big things because at the same time, we had a Mars square Pluto. So Mars is the aggression planet, the ruler of war and the ruler of action. he's squared off with Pluto, the ruler of the underworld, the unseen, so more unseen things coming up. That was a double secret reveal type of aspect happening all at the same time. And then also Pluto rules transformation. So when Mars, the ruler of action, so he was here and Pluto was here on the chart, on the astrology chart, okay? Right. So he's squared on top of Pluto, meaning essentially that he had power over Pluto to force Pluto to do whatever he wanted, which was forcing him to transform, which means we're all being forced. We're in a forceful transformation right now, right? So that's, again, when you find out someone was having an affair, when you call off the wedding, when you lose your job, when you have financial restrictions, or when you have huge expenses. This is when the big things explode. And all
the country, right?
Yes, we have an impeachment. Look at all of the secrets that have come out about President Trump in the past month, right? Yeah. These are big, serious secrets. And even today, as you and I were talking before we started, the hearing scenario just explodes. So that's the type of stuff that we're seeing. Also, the other reason this was a really, really big one is because Uranus, who is literally the ruler of explosions, has been retrograde. So he's allowing everything to explode. So you see, when you put all this energy into a pot and you start stirring,
I'm seeing the bombs are going off. So for people, you know, particularly those who get anxious around change or feel frightened of big shifts, this is a time to learn to embrace them as they come up and to accept them as a natural part of our evolution, of our time, of what we actually need, because it's no accident that it's happening. And it's perfect.
And this is not, when you have a recipe like this, you know, when Mercury is going retrograde in a more calm zodiac sign, sure, you can prevent those secrets from coming out. But this is, with all the things that I just mentioned, and there were even more things going on, right? Like Neptune has been retrograde, still is retrograde. He rules illusions, delusions, and dreams, right? And not just the dreams we have when we're sleeping, but the dreams we also have for our lives. But in this particular kind of transformation, the thing that's most important, and it's not over yet, this doesn't officially end until January 10th, when all the important planets go direct. This is not a transformation you can fight, period. This is, there are some that you can, and there are some that you can say, you know what, you do have will and you do have power, where you can say, you know what, I don't want to transform right now. I'll do it on the next one. Get me on the next one. I'm gonna pass.
But make sure my lunar returns in somewhere part of the world.
You can willfully sometimes bypass a transformation or hold it and pause into the next one. This one, no. And that's why you're seeing our countries blowing up, world events are blowing up, big things are blowing up. You know, U.S. troops pulling out of Syria. Like, this is not one anyone can skip. It's just one that you just have to lean into, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So where you're talking about this big shift. So here we are in November, end of November, coming up into the end of the year. What should people keep in mind just in the next, you know, few weeks or towards the end of the year for their own, you know, you talked about these transformations as being inevitable. What can people do right now to kind of prepare themselves for it?
Here's the best advice I can give there, okay? So we have to go back essentially 2 years when this all started, but I'll be quick. I promise I won't go through a whole 2 year. So
give me the cliff notes.
The cliff notes are, right, for 99% of the world and the people out there, but especially America, because that's typically the chart that I pulled, the birth of the United States, is 2018 was a rough year for a lot of people. A lot of people described it as being kicked in the crotch. It was super tough. It was one of the toughest years for me too. It was a lot of personal transformation and growth, which is what a lot of people went through. 2019 was a lot less of a kick to the crotch, but still not like this.
Well, you're still aching from the blow.
Right, and there's still more. Yeah. So this past 2 years was happening for a very specific reason. It was a 2-year run, 2-year cycle with some of the planets of transforming and changing. So essentially where we are right now is we are in the 11th hour. This is almost over. Okay. So that's how I would ask everybody to look at it. You're in the 11th hour. So whatever it is that you know in your gut, your intuition says, you know, this person needs to get out of my life, or this job is not right for me, or I need to move aggressively towards this dream. I've always wanted to make this happen, but I've never gotten off my butt to do it. Like whatever it is that you're feeling, whatever it is that you know you need to change, now is the 11th hour. Because come January 10th, when Uranus, the final planet, the final spark, goes direct, we are exploding forward into our new beginning. Next year is going to be one of the best years, honestly, for a majority of the zodiac. We have a new 36-year cycle starting. We have a new 29-year cycle starting. We have a new 18-year cycle starting. It's a whole new beginning, and they're all happening like at the same time.
And is this because all of the planets that were in retrograde, as you talked about, the major planets are now going direct?
Yes. So we have Mercury stationing to go direct today, which is technically for us, it's 11:20 today. The next big spark is Neptune stationing to go direct on the 27th of November. And then the next one is going to be Uranus stationing to go direct on January 10th. And that's when everything starts to go like on fire, right? But in a really good way, not in a bad way.
Okay.
We have huge cycles ending, and they've been ending consistently one after the other for the past 2 years, right? So that's why we've all had a lot of struggle or a lot of change happening really fast.
Yeah, so I think what I'm seeing in my head is the big word acceptance. And, you know, a lot of us tend to fight change because of some perceived connection with whatever it is that we think we know or we need or we have. So for example, the relationship. If your relationship is exploding right now, let it. You know, let it go, because you know, I think a lot of people stay into relationships because of the emotional belief that, or fear actually, of being alone or changed. But if your job is exploding, let it. Just, I think what we're kind of saying is, and what is coming up for us, is that allow the change that you see is forthcoming to be, and embrace it if you can. And if not, just hold tight.
If you can't wrap your arms around it and embrace it, lean into it. Just lean into it, right? Because that's where we have to start, is just by leaning into it. One of the cards that has been coming up consistently in my tarot readings lately has been the Temptress reversed. And so when I say reversed, that means that the card appears upside down to me in the reading. And what that is, when the Temptress is reversed, she's tempting us back to situations that felt safe, but were not good for us, right? Okay. Kind of exactly what you were saying a moment ago, which is what sparked that idea. And that's where there's been a lot of that, right? Like return to the old, because even though it was hurting you, it felt safe because it's what you're used to and accustomed to. That's why all these aspects are happening now. They're blowing that stuff up, and they're forcing us to step outside of our comfort zone in a really big way, in a really, really big way.
Yeah, so I think as well, you know, if you think something's done, and we're still living through the end of this retrograde, right? So we're still kind of renegotiating back to the path that we were before these explosions. You know, notice the things that have come up with some acceptance about what it is that you deserve in your life, whether that, and it is about all relationships, right? We're sitting in the sacral chakra 100% fully right now, right? All of our relationships are up for review, and with a lot of sort of chaos and excitement, and I would say is the term I would use about it, is because my nature is that this stuff is great and it's a lot of fun. I like jumping onto this stuff. But speaking of tarot, so what do you think about pulling a card for folks?
Sure.
Or whatever you feel, right? We'll use our.
See, I love tarot.
And just so you know, I'll just verify, we did not plan this.
No, we shuffled before.
We shuffled right before. So what card came up?
So this is what's interesting, and it doesn't surprise me. This is the card essentially of the yin and the yang within the tarot deck, right? Mm-hmm. So upright is easier to show. So cups rule emotions, matters of heart, passion, love, you name it, right? So in this particular image that you can see, he's balancing, right? So you have the serpent to represent the dark side of the yin and the yang, and you have the statuette to represent the white. Below him are all the things that he's accomplished and evolved with and carries with him. And above is an open cup, always willing to learn and evolve and be filled, right? Mm-hmm. So when the card's reversed, which it was when I pulled for it, it essentially means that the yin and the yang is just, it's totally out of whack.
Folks on the in the video, you can see the card here. And those of you listening, you can go to divineinsight.com and click on the YouTube link at the top, which will go to the video, and you can come to the video and see the card yourself there.
So this is very indicative. This card keeps coming up in most of my readings, so it's very indicative right now. And I actually think that this is super important. We need to be unbalanced right now, right? Because when we're balanced, we're at a place where we're evolved for that moment in time. We're good, right? We're good. We can help others. We can move forward. We can make progress. But right now, the yin and the yang,
we can see what's in front of us.
Right. And but we don't necessarily need to evolve in that particular moment because we've harmonized. And then something will come up, and then we'll unharmonize, and then we'll need to evolve and grow again.
Right.
So this is the overall feeling, the overall energy right now is that the yin and yang is just completely out of whack right now, which I completely agree with. I think even the most evolved people right now are feeling somehow, some way, a little unsettled.
Mm-hmm.
Something's off, something's changing. It's like, even with me, normally I can get a pretty good sense of what's coming for me. Right now, I can't. All I know is that something really big is coming. Things are changing, things are moving in, but I don't know what that is, because the other big thing right now is we're being asked to have a huge leap of faith. To just have faith, rather than say, well, I'll have faith if I know you're going to put more juice in here, then I'll have faith that I won't be thirsty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're being asked right now to say, oh my God, my juice is almost gone. Well, I know I'm not going to be thirsty.
Yeah.
I know somehow, some way, more juice is going to come.
Yeah.
That's the big challenge right now.
Yeah, I mean, with jobs, a lot of people expect to know what job they're going to have before they let go of the one that doesn't fit them any longer.
That's not what's been happening.
And it's interesting because I've had 3 readings this week where, we talked just a little bit very briefly about the bear. I get a lot of animal spirits that show up during readings to show wisdom for the client. And there was 3 times this week where a bear came through, specifically about it's okay to conserve your energy right now. Stay home, protect yourself, allow yourself to hibernate, rest, so that you can have the energy to do the actions that you need to, that show up for you in your life. And in fact, last night I was teaching a meditation, and normally, as I said, the intuition comes to me, and I would see the bear and it would show up. I was doing a guided meditation where we ask somebody to notice what animal shows up for you as you walk through the forest. And at the end of the meditation, this woman said, what animal did I get? I said, well, you tell me, what did you perceive? And she said, well, I saw a bear. And I was just like, of course you did. So I think that's another just intuition from my side. The bear.
I 100% agree with you, because the things that I've had my own frustration during this forceful transformation, where I've been like, things are happening, but I'm like, no, I want them to go faster.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be busier. I want more things to be coming in because I'm ready. I feel supercharged and pumped up to help and to evolve myself and help myself as well. And the message I keep hearing over and over and over from my guides is, you're supposed to be resting right now. Yeah. Rest. Yeah. Just rest. Relax. Take a day on the couch, because come January, you're not going to have that option anymore. So that's what I think is really frustrating for a lot of people. And I've been talking about this on my Instagram stories, where I post my daily astrology stuff.
What is your Instagram, by the way?
It's my last name, Barrington 41. So I post daily astrology stuff. So you can go to my Instagram, Barrington 41, and you can see the daily astrology stuff that I post on my stories. And I also do tarot posts as well. And so one of the biggest complaints that I've been getting from people is that they feel like they can't make any progress. Nothing's moving. Nothing's moving fast enough. Not making any progress. And not moving forward. And I was like, that's because we're supposed to be resting right now, hibernating, the bear, which I think is absolutely, your analogy is perfect. Yeah.
Awesome. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with folks about any guidance that you'd like to give them in this time of year? Or I know it's sort of a vague thing, but be well, take care of yourself. Well, I think I want to comment a little bit on the concept of the yin and the yang in particular coming up in the card is so important and valuable for what's come up in my work with people as well. Is, when it comes to the yang is the action, it's the force, it's the movement, it's a masculine energy, it's light, it's the sun. But when we're too much in the yang, we don't balance ourselves well. And so, and in the understanding of the animal associated with yang, it's the tiger. Now, the yin is when we become quiet, when we meditate, when we allow our feminine aspect to come out. It's the dark, it's silence, it's stillness, it's the moon, and it's represented by the dragon. Mm-hmm. And so allow yourself to pull back, be the hibernating bear, even relax and just know that, you know, whatever change you want is happening. It's going to happen in the right time for you. You don't have to force it. You don't have to try so hard, because it's going to happen, and in more like divine timing versus your own personal time, which is
including myself.
Yeah,
Including
yeah.
myself.
No, I totally get it. So how can folks learn more about you? You talked about your Instagram. Can you share more about how people can reach out to you if they're interested in?
Yeah, Instagram, I'm interacting daily with either videos or posts or texts about astrology, tarot, and then also just little bits about my personal life. I also have a website where you can go and read the written aspects and the written tarot, which is just my name, markusbarrington.com. And that's Marcus with a K, not a C. So that's the two main places where you can find me for the tarot and astrology stuff, and see the daily stuff that I post and the energy vibes that I've got going out there, warning you about. And then also you can book me on my website, or you can DM me on Instagram to book an appointment. I do over the phone or in person. Doesn't matter. I'd say like 40% of my clients are out of state, so it doesn't matter where you are. I can read your cards. So that's not a problem.
Yeah, divination works regardless of where you are.
Access that energy anywhere.
Very convenient. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me this week. It's been a pleasure to have you on. And thank you so much for watching or listening wherever you are. Thank you so much. Have a great week and take good care of yourself.